Nosworth Thar, a very good evening, one and all. Welcome to Executive Box 7 in the Macron stand, a new location for Match Day Live tonight as we prepare for what we hope will be another epic FA Cup battle under the Stoke Kairas lights. Ipswich Town come north and a long way west from Suffolk. The first time we'll be seeing them, we'll see them again in just over a week in a Sky Bet Championship fixture. But tonight, it's all about the magic of the FA Cup. Wrexham and Ipswich both looking forward to this FA fourth round match, an opportunity for these two clubs to make it through to the last 16 of the competition. competition. Ipswich, once winners of this famous old tournament back in the late 70s. Wrexham, 3 times quarter finalists. Looking ahead with me this evening, great to have Andy Morell and Mia Roberts alongside. Good evening to you both.
Evening.
It's got that FA Cup tingle, hasn't it? Walking into the ground, that sense of excitement, freezing cold night. It says FA Cup, Andy.
Well, that's why we're in here, because it's beautifully warm.
But okay.
Well, the mere mention of Ollie Palmer's in the house, and we move inside. So, no, it's that 4th round FA Cup. It's a chance to progress, get into that last 16, a big financial incentive as well on the back of it. I think there'll be changes for both teams, but you've got that sense of a Friday night under the lights on that FA Cup. I hope it's a similar game to the one we've had in the previous round, really, against Forest.
Mia, interesting battle in the dugout tonight. We'll come to that in a bit more detail as we look ahead to the game. But with these two squaring up in just over a week's time in the league, it is an intriguing one for the managers to ponder. How strong do you go? Do you keep players back for the league fixture? And are you showing your hand a bit ahead of that game next week if you try and replicate your league team too closely, perhaps?
Yeah, certainly. I think just so many questions really that both managers will be asking. I think, for Kieran McKenna, he's obviously got the advantage of actually not having a game in between. He goes straight from this and straight focus back to the racecourse in 8 days or so. So that's easier for him. Whereas Phil Parkinson obviously has Bristol City away to think about, which, as we know, is no mean feat to go somewhere like that in what is, just a fiery sort of championship as we've seen it so far this season. So I think there's a lot of sort of decisions to be made. But obviously the teams have come out and a number of changes, shall we say.
And indeed, there's the perfect cue to look at tonight's Wrexham side, because as Andy suggested and Mia confirmed, we have seen many changes from the managers this evening. Ipswich Town make 10 to their starting lineup, but let's focus on Wrexham's 5 alterations from Phil Parkinson this evening, because the team being sent out to try and get that place in the FA Cup last 16 is 5 changes from the team beaten by Millwall, an all-new midfield. So Arthur Okonkwo keeps his place in goal, as do the back 3 of Cleworth, Hyam and Doyle. Then the changes start. Longman in for Kabori at right midfield. Dobson in for Matty James, who of course broke his big toe last Saturday. It's then likely to be, well, the graphics suggest Ollie Rathbone in a central midfield role. We'll see if that becomes the reality. He keeps his place from last Saturday. George Thomason is in to play left wing back in place of Libby Kakachi. Josh Windass returns to play in that number 10 role, which might be alongside Lewis O'Brien, or perhaps Ollie Rathbone playing there, and O'Brien dropping back in to a more conventional holding midfield role. Sam Smith comes in for Kiefer Moore up top. Substitutes, Callum Burton gets an opportunity on the bench, not yet named in the 25-man squad for the EFL, but in this competition he is able to be selected. So Burton is on the bench alongside Dan Scarr, Izzy Kabore, Ryan Barnett, Ben Sheaf getting a rest tonight, Nathan Broadhead, who did have a bit of a groin problem, but we heard that had been sorted. Davis Keeler-Dunn, Bailey Cadamarteri getting his first chance to potentially pull on the red shirt, and Kiefer Moore. Mia, what do you make of that selection?
Yeah, I was expecting changes tonight, maybe expecting a few more really. So a little bit surprised, that it is only 5. Obviously, Kieran McKenna has shown that he's, really made the most of those changes. But yeah, happy to see that back 3 sort of staying together. Obviously, with Lewis Brunt still out, there's not much rotation. Obviously, Zach Viner as well, still not ready. There's not too much you can do there. Obviously, Dan Scarr on the bench, but yeah, excited to see what sort of setup we do in terms of that O'Brien Rathbone role. We know both previously in their career have been able to drop in a little bit deeper. We haven't necessarily seen that with Wrexham. Obviously, earlier on in this season, we saw Lewis O'Brien in that midfield 3, but not in that sort of double pivot, which we've obviously seen the likes of Matty James and George Dobson and Ben Sheaf do. So very interesting to see how his role works tonight.
Andy, were you half expecting perhaps Danny Ward to get a chance tonight, or maybe Callum Burton in goal, or maybe Dan Scarr get a chance to give one of the back 3 a rest?
Yeah, quite possibly, but I think he's just set with the 3 at the back, and Okonkwo, I think he's just trying to get a relationship between them all. They've played a few games now together, and I think he's just trying to keep that momentum really going forwards. I'm going to be intrigued as much as Mia about seeing how he might go back to the 3 in midfield and maybe Windass just off Smith. He's got varying options in there as well, and hopefully we get to see Cadamarteri at some point. That'd be great to see him come on and put the red of Wrexham on, if you like. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a great game, and it's a chance for these lads to go and prove that they can play on Tuesday against Bristol City.
Yeah, Bristol City looming up next in the Sky Bet Championship. A trip to Ashton Gate in midweek punctuates these two fixtures against Ipswich Town. But tonight the focus is all on the battle with the Tractor Boys. And a few minutes ago, we had the chance to catch up with Phil Parkinson. He's been talking to Steve Bennett.
Phil, 5 changes in your team tonight from Millwall. Opportunity for some lads to get some minutes.
Yeah, it's just pick the team we feel is right for tonight. I've got a busy schedule coming up. Brody comes back in, only trained a couple of days, but too soon for him to start. A couple of little niggles with Sheafy and Kiefer during the week, but both okay to be on the bench. So yeah, picked the strongest team from what we feel is right for tonight.
And Bailey is on the bench. First time we can potentially see him feature tonight.
Yeah, of course. Good for Bailey. Obviously, the new rule that you can play for 2 clubs in the FA Cup. So it's good to get Bailey involved. He's trained well, as has Davis. But yeah, we've got some good players, and there's competition for places. But yeah, maybe we'll see him on the pitch tonight. Maybe not, because we've got Kiefer to come off the bench. We've got Brody, so we've got a nice selection of strikers. Should we need them to come off?
We spoke about it in the week. There's something magical about under the lights here at the Stoke KWAS, isn't there?
Yeah, I think, tonight's an opportunity to get into the 5th round of the FA Cup, the first time in 29, 30 years, and, to write our own little bit of history. And, we spoke to the lads about that yesterday, about reminded to get the lads again, the new ones in particular, about the club's tradition in the FA Cup, but also Ipswich have got a great tradition as well, winning with the tournament. But it's an opportunity for ourselves to another progression for us as a football club. Can we get into that 5th round? And we're going to go all out to achieve that tonight.
So thank you, all the best.
Thank you, cheers.
Phil Parkinson outlining the opportunity for his Wrexham squad tonight. It's 30 years since the Red Dragons have reached the 5th round of the FA Cup, but that is the opportunity in front of them this evening. And Mia, I touched on the fact that Kieran McKenna had made 10 changes to his Ipswich side, so largely the bench from his championship team last time out getting an opportunity. Only Cedric Kipre, the centre-back from the Ivory Coast, keeps his place. If you're sitting in that Wrexham dressing room now looking at that team list, are you thinking opportunity knocks?
Absolutely. I think always you want to be thinking that, but at the same time I looked at that Ipswich team and when someone said to me 10 changes, I was a bit taken aback, because looking at it looks so strong. It doesn't look like you could possibly have that many changes from the Derby game on the weekend. So they've got so much squad depth, as have a number of obviously teams we know now around us in those championship positions. But yeah, they're very strong, and like you say, Kipre obviously the only one actually coming straight back in, but a number of those players could be week in week out starters in the championship.
Ipswich Town, Andy, of course, a club with a tremendous history in this competition. They won it back in 1978, Roger Osborne's goal. They've had a bit of a yo-yo spell since, of course. They've been a club that have tasted the Premier League very recently and just dropped back out of it. But they are now starting in the league to really build some momentum, aren't they? Up in 3rd place and putting pressure on Middlesbrough and Coventry.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the squad, it is so deep in quality that they can just make these changes in 10, and it's a team that these lads have played this season. It's not like they're just coming in from not having any football. They've played 10, 15 games already for Ipswich in the season, so they're chomping at the bit. They'll be desperate to play in these teams, in this team and in this league, and get them promoted, because they are pushing and they're chasing Cov down. And I don't think there's any other team in the league that you'd want over your shoulder than Ipswich with the quality that they have, and they just seem to be getting better and better as they go. When we played them, we got a really sticky draw, didn't we? A 0-0 down there. But they showed signs of a bit of quality. They just couldn't break us down. But then they seem to have just on this roll now that they're just chasing those teams. And when you're in the chasing pack, it's easier than being the one being chased, as Cov are finding at the moment. So yeah, full of quality, and I think they'll be pretty much one of the favourites now to get out of this league because of the way they're going.
But it seems that FA Cup history that we see on screen might be one that Kieran McKenna is prepared to sacrifice tonight, judging by the selection he has made. We will see. We do know, of course, in the Championship there are serious amounts of depth to the squads, so the players stepping in will most certainly have quality in abundance. A fascinating match awaits us at 7:45, and one of the fascinating matchups tonight will be for the 2 centre forwards. Sam Smith and Chuba Akpom are the 2 men given that opportunity tonight. Kiefer Moore on the bench for Wrexham. Phil Parkinson just explaining to Steve Bennett a minute or so ago that Moore picked up a little bit of a niggle in training this week. But Sam Smith has proved a more than able deputy this season when he has stepped in, as we can see on screen already. 6 goals to the name of the former Reading centre forward. There were perhaps 1 or 2 questions at the start of the season. Could he make that step up from League One to the Championship? Was he going to be able to make that transition? Well, I think as we've seen him get more and more game time, the answer to that is clearer in the positive. If we look at Chuba Akpom, he was brought in the summer. Just the 2 goals to his name so far. He struggled for game time in recent weeks, particularly in Sky Bet Championship football, but that will give him a hunger tonight, you would think. And Andy, if we look now at some of Sam Smith's movement this season, that has been a particular aspect of his game that I think the fans have enjoyed.
Yeah, and it's so difficult when you get 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there to go and put your stamp on it and go and score a couple of goals and show that you are good enough. But what we've seen is that he's so hungry to play at this level and prove himself that when he has had those starts, he's been pretty much unstoppable, hasn't he? And this is what I was thinking about the other day, was that if I'm in that sort of form, and when I've started, I've scored in every game that I've started. I've scored 5 goals now in the season. I'm in top form. I'm up for nominee of Player of the Month in January. And I get left out against Millwall at home. I just don't know how I would be with that. Normally, when in my day, black and white, and you know what I mean, Charles playing next to me. It was if you were playing and you were doing well, you stayed in the team. And this rotation, and you're not quite at it, and your numbers and all that sort of thing. I get that, but if you're in the form that he's in, I would fully expect and want to be playing in that team and starting games.
Mia, have you seen him adjust his playing style at all this season as he's got more into Championship life?
Not necessarily. I think he's very similar to the sort of player we saw towards the end of last season. I think it's just a case of similar to what Andy said. Earlier on in the Championship, he was getting a couple minutes here and there, and I absolutely agree. It's so difficult to suddenly put yourself into that intensity of a game in the last few minutes when you're not necessarily coming into that with confidence from playing previously. But what he has done is taken his opportunity. And how many times do we say that? When we have a knockback in terms of an injury or suspension or something, it's on the onus then is on these players to come in and do a job and try and retain their role. And it's so interesting looking at him versus someone like Kiefer Moore, because they are just so different. They're so totally different strikers, and I think that's sometimes where maybe that goes against him. If you look at previous Phil Parkinson sides, is Kiefer Moore more of a Phil Parkinson type of striker? I think historically you could argue he probably is, but then when Sam Smith is putting up the numbers that he has done over the past few weeks, then he puts up a very good case to be in that starting 11 week in, week out.
I think he's been better with his back to goal than he was last season. We know he's a runner and he goes and pushes the defence back, but he's been more reliable with his back to goal to keeping the ball for us and setting one of those 2 midfielders behind him and then letting the play develop from there than he was a little bit last year. And whether that's something he's worked on or not, or it's confidence, it's certainly been better this season than it was at the back end of last year.
Sam Smith, one of 5 changes from Phil Parkinson this evening. He comes in for Kiefer Moore to lead the Wrexham line. Well, a few weeks ago, Nottingham Forest made the journey up from the East Midlands to face Wrexham in what turned out to be an epic FA Cup tie. Also proved to be one of the last matches in which Sean Dyche managed Forest. He departed the City Ground earlier this week. But a few weeks ago, he was head-to-head with Phil Parkinson in the dugout. It was a racecourse classic under the lights. Here's a reminder of a wonderful evening in North Wales.
Rathbone finds Broadhead, Kakache into a nice position, which creates space on the flank for Doyle, and he rips a vicious ball in. Savona watched that well, clears it in the near post. Dobson tackles back brilliantly. Now then, chance for the shot, drilled. Yes! Wrexham take the lead. He's one of our own. Absolutely, yeah. Wrexham win it back. Doyle, that's a good ball. Rathbone now. Oh, that's a crucial tackle, but Wrexham win it back. Broadhead leads it into the edge of the area. Rathbone hits it. Yes! 2-0! And that's all about persistence. Rathbone again. Broadhead did so well, but Wrexham just at it. Wouldn't let the ball go dead. Wouldn't let the attack die. And it's 2-0. What a performance this is. Savona picks out down the side of the right-hand side, swings it in, great header off the line. Forrest sink it in, and it is 2-1. Maybe it's a good thing the first defender blocks it, and Windass picks it up and draws a careless challenge from Hudson-Odoi for a free kick. Dobson's free kick launched in, great ball in, and 3-1! Hyam with the diving header, what a free kick! The moment he hit it, you can see he turned Forest defence, and Hyam, like Kakache, scores his first goal for Wrexham. Let's just run the clock down a touch. Hutchison tries to clip it past Thomas and does well. That's the goal line. Drills across in dangerously, and it's hit, and it's in! Callum Hudson-Odoi strikes back for Forest. What a hit across the keeper. It's a 2 up front now for Forest. Douglas Luiz, of course, the player who went off, and he's a big unit. It's played in nicely. 2 out in his first touch. He scores! Oh, he ran in between the left side of centre-back and the central one. There was so much space in there, and he hooks it over Okonkwo. Great finish in the last minute. How cruel is that? Gives the go-ahead. Windass, yes! Drills it in. Sells went low to his left. Windass drilled it into the roof of the net. It's a long wait, but here it is. Gibbs White steps up, sends it the wrong way. And McLean, feet wide apart, steps up, puts it over. Oh dear, he's always looked to be leaning a bit backwards, didn't he? And goes to the top left corner, doesn't hit it. And Forest have the advantage. And then steps up right-footed. Save! Great save by Okonkwo. Drops to his right. It was hit central height, but he didn't quite put it inside the post. And Okonkwo, great save. Wants to get it over and done with, drills it. Ooh, he hit that, and he's really giving it loads as Stoke go through. Coffee end. Oh, Okonkwo bounces. Hudson-Odoi. Oh, it's a great penalty, that. Top right corner. Says he's going to go left. Thomason left-footed, drills it. Oh, Sells did go left, and Thomason smashed it in halfway at the post. Great penalty, that. Williams steps up. Oh, it's in, but it went under Okonkwo's hand. He nearly got to that. Rodriguez waits on the edge of the area. Steps up. Oh, it's a good pen. Gave the keeper the eyes, and Sells going to move. Driven inside the right post. Left-footed, short run-up. The crowd making a terrific noise. Those torches behind the goal. Hutchison, save! Wrexham are through! Wrexham knocked Nottingham Forest out of the cup! Arthur Okonkwo, the hero, diving to his left. Hutchison didn't find the corner, and Arthur Okonkwo with those lovely big hands of his. You gotta love that man.
Arthur Okonkwo, the hero a few weeks ago as Premier Leaguers Nottingham Forest were ejected from the FA Cup by Wrexham. Ipswich Town await for Phil Parkinson's side tonight. Championship opposition this evening, led by Kieran McKenna, a young coach with a growing reputation in the game. Let's have a little look now at how Parkinson and McKenna compare in the dugout, because McKenna's pressing style and progressive tactics have earned him many plaudits in recent years, earning a double promotion from League One up to the Premier League, which we'll look at in a bit more detail in just a moment. But McKenna's time as a manager, clearly a lot less than Phil Parkinson, not that long into his career. So he's had 11 FA Cup games, but winning 7 of them. It's a very decent win percentage. Parkinson's a 50-50 with 34 wins from 68 games, but a quarter-final, of course, to Parkinson. McKenna as yet to go beyond the 5th round in this competition. And as I said, if we look at McKenna in a little bit more detail, you'll see the ascent which he has guided Ipswich on. Yes, they were relegated last year from the Premier League, but as Andy was remarking in the top of the programme, they are very much in that conversation to get one of those 2 automatic spots to get straight back at the first time of asking. Back in 2023, they stormed their way out of Sky Bet League One with 98 points. Couple of points less the following season, but to go straight up through the Championship, very much the exception to the norm. We've discussed this season what a challenge it is to step up from League One to the Championship. Wrexham, of course, doing that extremely well at the moment, sitting in 6th position, but Ipswich flew straight through. Then a bit of a baptism of fire in the Premier League and a rapid return with just 22 points. But with the parachute payment aiding their squad rebuilding, McKenna's side have every opportunity, you'd think, to put serious pressure on Middlesbrough and Coventry in the final third of the season. Tonight, Mia, from McKenna, but I don't think what will change is his footballing philosophy. What sort of style of play do you think we'll see from Ipswich tonight?
Well, I think he's dynamic. I think he's a really good manager, who's someone who's really exciting. I'm glad to see he's stuck with Ipswich. I think already, obviously with the Forest changes, the Spurs changes over the last few days, really, isn't it? His name is always in those talks, and deservedly so, because he's a great manager. But I think, still very young, still learning, and he's at a great club who are in a great spot right now. Obviously, the back-to-back, something we know a bit about as well. They've had a really good rise over the last few years and a really impressive side. But I think tonight, we've got someone like George Hurst starting up top, a bit of a Kiefer Moore, if you like. I think they'll try and be direct. They'll try and hit him. He's someone who's quite happy to move out wide and try and pin the sort of smaller defender, if you like. So that'll be interesting if he does that again tonight, obviously up against the back five. But yeah, I think they'll be dynamic. They've got someone like Agelli in there who they bought for a lot of money over in the summer. Very young player, hasn't necessarily hit the ground running, but certainly has that potential to create magic moments.
Mia mentions George Hurst there, and the 6 goals to him in the Championship this season, but finding himself down the pecking order behind Athon as the regular centre forward. If you get a chance on a night like this and you're trying to show the manager what you're all about and remind him of your credentials, is there a danger sometimes you try too hard?
Yeah, I've been there, and you're desperate to do well, and you can sometimes get overhyped. Should be relaxed enough to go, right, I've played some of the part of this season, I've scored some goals this season, I've got to come out tonight and just do my job to my best of my ability. Keep the ball for my team when it's played into me, and get in the box when they're wide, because the boys out wide, they're good 1v1 situations, good quality into the box, and if I can get myself in between the posts, I might nick myself a goal and put myself in the picture for the following games.
Well, this week here at the Stoke Kairas, an anniversary milestone was reached, because on Monday it was 5 years to the day since Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack completed their takeover of the club. What a 5 years we have had. What a journey it has been. And let's start by reminding ourselves of the video that Rob and Ryan made right at the start. And we thought we'd give you a bit of a kind of contemporary update as to how Ryan's feeling about things right now.
Oh, there you go. Come on down. Now that's a stadium. Wow.
Is that better?
So there is a real risk for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the anxiety. Like watching the team lose last night, you're thinking the investment in this club just took a hit.
Yes. And there is a version of the story where we are villains. Where
that's my usual story. It's usually the story in my head.
Yeah, it doesn't work. And then we go, what are we going to do? We have to sell it. And then we're the bad guys.
Yeah. That. Yeah. It's going to work.
5 years later, it's going to work. It's working. It's working. It's always working. I mean, it's always going to be working. Yeah. The journey's the end, the journey. The end is the beginning. I think it's wild to see what's happened in 5 years. The thing I'm most thrilled about is it looks the same and it feels the same. And that sameness is something that travels all over the world, and that, that intimacy that you get inside of here is still here, and it's that everybody knows the name Wrexham, and nobody says I'm from North Wales anymore. We say from Wrexham.
5 years then since Rob Mack and Ryan Reynolds took over here at the Stoke Kairas. We reached that anniversary on Monday of this week. Difficult to know where to start, but Andy, I'd like to start, I think, with the academy. because what we've seen in the time that Rob and Ryan have taken over the club was a new idea to partner with Darlan School, just outside Rossett and 10 minutes or so from the ground here, and a setup now which is really gathering pace, and a structure which is being led by Glyn Williams, Craig Knight, a team that's now reached the FA Cup 5th round. So we're seeing immediate dividends, but more importantly, a bedrock, you'd hope, for years to come of the next Max Cleworth, the next Harry Ashfield coming off the conveyor belt.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had that when Brian Flynn was here. He was a stippler for it.
Yes.
And when I was here, we tried to keep it going as best we could with the funds that we had. And we had players through, Johnny Hunt, and we had, obviously before me, Gaz Owen and Wayne Phillips, people like that coming through. So we've always had a good history of kids coming through. And I'm so pleased that they've been able to really push that, bolster that, give that a chance to really grow again and be what it was before, and enhance it and allow these players to come through. And like you said, with Max and Harry around the first team, there's no better inspirations to be looking up and going, well, it can happen. If I'm a player in the academy, it's a possibility. If I can do all right, I get a chance and I go in the first team. It happens. So I'm really, really pleased that they've been able to get that and set the fire, underneath it, if you like.
Yeah, just mentioning specific players, great to see Aaron James was out tonight warming up as well with Jay Rodriguez, so he looks like he's getting close to being ready for action again. Mia, clearly on the women's side, we have seen a revolution with the purchase of the Rock and the setup of the infrastructure. You played your part yourself in the promotion to the Adran Premier and in moving the club from amateur to semi-professional status. Do you think the women's section has moved forward quicker than you could have anticipated if you'd wound the clock forward five years from that original arrival day?
Oh, 100%. And, I think alongside that, like with the academy, I think, obviously the headlines often go to the team that's going to be out on that pitch in a matter of about 25 minutes or so. And rightly so. But at the same time, Rob and Ryan have put time and money and, a lot of things into those other sort of assets of the club, which is brilliant to see. And I totally agree with what you say. I think they did that immediately. I was there with the women's team when they came in, and, just that feeling of being told, no, we're here for you as well, and having that sort of assurance. And for someone who's played in the women's game for a while previously to that didn't happen. That didn't exist. You weren't used to that at all. So what they've done is remarkable, and how they speak about not just the club but the town. I saw an interview Ryan did this week about how he's not, if things were to go poorly, it's not the club that they're necessarily letting down as the foremost. It's actually the people of Wrexham, and to have owners that are saying things like that, it's it doesn't happen in the modern day game, and it's really special.
I walked in tonight, Andy, with Aidan Miller, who's leading the project to regenerate the COP and the construction there. And it made me think a little bit as I was chatting to Aidan on the way in of what that COP's going to look like when it is built and up and ready.
Huge.
It's going to be huge, isn't it? But the infrastructure and the management of what is needed here in terms of the crowd potential and the size of the stadium, that would have been one that I'm sure they grappled with, and the likes of Michael Williamson and Rob Faulkner will keep reassessing to think, how big can this club be? How many seats do we need?
Yeah. But history shows that we have got a huge fan base, and people will come through the doors if you supply a good thing out on the pitch, if you like. And so we've filled the place. We need a new stand. They've gone for it as well. I was listening to Fearless and Devotion podcast this week with Sean Harvey on it, and fascinating listen, because he's saying that it's a good job some of the things slowed down a little bit. We couldn't get bits done because we've actually outgrown them over the time that we've been here. We didn't expect them, and it would have been a waste of money had we got them done. So that sort of thing, it just seems like things are just moving in the right direction. Things are not going too quick. We're not being too hasty with decisions we're making, but we've got really good people in this club to do the right jobs and to make those good decisions, and long may it continue.
And more widely in Wrexham, of course, we should find out in a few months' time if Wrexham are going to be named as the City of Culture coming up very soon. So we will find out whether or not Wrexham are successful in that bid for 2029. So all eyes will be on that. It'll be a great opportunity for the wider city to really continue to amplify its profile worldwide. Well, Mia mentions the advancements on the women's side of the club here at Wrexham, and they've got some big matches looming up in the next few weeks. We had the opportunity this evening to catch up with head coach Jenny Sugarman. She's been chatting to Mia.
Jenny, thanks so much for joining us on Matchday Live tonight. Great to have you on. Firstly, phase 1 completed, into going into phase 2 now with a lot of momentum. Obviously, a semi-final and a final in there as well. How are you feeling after your first few months at Wrexham AFC Women?
Yeah, it's been a very fun, exciting, but quite crazy first few months in the role and working at the club. And phase 1 has gone, probably better than we expected it would. We've obviously spent a lot of time building a squad, building a staff team, and putting together, a whole new way of playing, a whole new way of working. So to be where we are at the end of phase 1 with the points on the board that we've got and the progression in the cups, we're really happy with the work that we've done so far. But we know that we've got quite a lot still to do too.
And just one point in it, obviously, between you and Cardiff. Is that something you're looking back at now, sort of relishing that, sort of going into that maybe as the chaser rather than the one actually being hunted?
Yeah, I think the motivation for everybody, wherever we sit at this point, top, second, 1 point, however many points, we know what we want to achieve from the season, and we want to make sure that we're competitive right to the very last day. And so we know that the top 4 sides are going to be incredibly competitive. I think the standard of football across the league this season has been excellent. There's been a real variety in the styles of play, and I think in the 3 opposition that we've got 3 very different styles of play as well. So yeah, we're happy with where we are so far. We're happy to chase, but we don't want to be in the position we're in come the end of the season.
And coming off the back of a big win at Carmarthen, not an easy place to go on a Sunday, on a cold Sunday in Wales. But how did that feel, in that cup competition to, get an emphatic win like that at a difficult place to go?
They're all cold, wet Sundays in Wales, aren't they, at the moment, it feels like. I was really pleased with the performance and the result of the weekend. Carmarthen worked incredibly hard, had a really good out-of-possession game plan, had at times all 11 players in their penalty area defending, and that makes life difficult no matter who you're up against. When there's that many bodies behind the ball working that hard for their team, it's always difficult. But I thought we broke that down really well and in different ways. I thought we got in behind for crossing opportunities well. I thought we had quite a lot of creativity in around the box. We had runs beyond from deeper players which broke that back line and caused those problems. So yeah, really happy with the performance, the result. Obviously progressing in the cup was important for us and making that semi-final. So yeah, just a nice way probably to bridge the gap between phase 1 and phase 2 as well.
And obviously, like we've said, so positive in that league in terms of where you are, but also in cup competitions as well. Obviously going into now a semi-final and a final on the horizon, both obviously against Cardiff. That's not something we've said particularly often about actually meeting Cardiff in a semi-final. But, putting that alongside the league, how can you sort of use that in your favour to maybe try and pick momentum if you get a great result in one of those cup competitions, to then take that into those, massive, aren't they really, those 2 fixtures in the league for phase 2? Yeah,
I think all the fixtures are massive for us now. It's every week probably feels a little bit like a cup final or whatever, because we're playing for so much, and that's a place that everybody wants to be. That's why we play in these teams and we work in these teams. So the cup final obviously is like the first game against Cardiff and 3 in a row, so there'll be nowhere to hide, will there, come the end of those 3 games, and it's but what I expect is those games perhaps to throw up quite different challenges as well. And yes, can we gain momentum early on and get ourselves not just a trophy but the confidence and the belief as well that would come with that. But I know that those games, and it's not just the games against Cardiff, like I said, the competitiveness of that top 4 this season is massive. And if we only think about them and take our eyes off the ball in the other areas, then obviously Swansea this weekend are only a few points behind us. So they'll be sitting there thinking, well, do you know what, we might not have got as many points as we'd like in phase 1, but we're well in this. So we have to make sure that it's not just about that rivalry, although it's going to be a fantastic play out of that Wrexham Cardiff rivalry for the rest of the season. But there's 4 teams involved in this cup this championship run-in, so we have to be prepared for all of them.
And just to touch on 3 players who've come through the door in the last few weeks, what sort of impact have they already made? Obviously, one coming actually from the Welsh League, which is really impressive to see, especially from a massive rival in TNS as well. What sort of impact have they already had on the squad?
Hopefully you'll see a little bit of that this weekend, of the impact that they can have on the pitch. I think training levels, intensity, competitiveness, game understanding, winners as well, like players that, Maria winning the Adrian Trophy last year with TNS, and Sarah's career so far. She has. I've got a lot of admiration for the journey that she's had. Taking herself across the world into multiple countries, and she turned up here less than 2 weeks ago with her bags packed on the train, and put belief in us, and not just from a football perspective, but from a life perspective. And I think she's got a lot that will really add to this group, a lot of experience and know-how in there. And then I think we've already seen from Michaela what she brings to the team, the different dynamic, her ability to play over different distances, her duelling, and her dominating in her duels. So what we've seen is a highly competitive training group now. The levels, we spoke about it over the last couple of sessions with the group, the levels have just gone up another step as well, but we need that. We need to go now into the business end of the season. Like I said, it feels like a cup final every week, so we have to have not only a squad or starting 11 that's capable to that. The whole squad have to contribute, and that's not taking anything away from the work that the players have already done. We wouldn't be in the position we are in now to push on for trophies if it wasn't for the work that the squad has already done. So those three add, particularly in the back line, a lot of addition to us for us there, but across the squad now we've got real competition in every area.
Well, Jenny, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully we catch you before any possible silverware.
Thank you.
Wrexham women's coach Jenny Sugarman in conversation with our very own Mia Roberts. Jenny here this evening for tonight's game ahead of a trip down to Swansea City on Sunday. Delighted to be joined for the next few minutes by a Wrexham AFC club ambassador, Ollie Palmer. Great to have you with us on Matchday Live. Welcome back to the racecourse this evening. This is a good little logistical tie-in for you, isn't it? Because your current club, Swindon, playing nearby Shrewsbury tomorrow.
Yeah, local rivals for this football club. So I'm just staying half an hour down the road. So the club invited me to come down tonight. So it was a real pleasure to come back.
Fantastic to see you back. Talk to us about the role that you're playing now as an official club ambassador.
Yeah, so it was quite exciting for me, really, and it was a part of the conversations when I chose my next club. So, speaking to the manager and the owners and my future at the football club on the pitch, the owner said to me, "You may be leaving the pitch, but we don't want you to leave the club." And didn't really know what that meant at the time, but as conversations unravelled, they spoke to me about becoming an ambassador of some sort of the football club. So it's quite hard to obviously tie it in, whilst playing as well. So I can't be as active as what maybe people wanted at the time. But it allows me to do things throughout the season that tie in and respectfully don't cross over with my Swindon schedule, which is my main priority. But it allows me to represent the football club still and do things. So I'm going to HP event, I think, at the Gherkin in London, so with Sean and Humphrey. I don't know if Sean knows that I'm joining them yet, but I'm sure he'll be delighted.
We're just trying to get all our tallest men together in one room, in London's tallest building.
Look at the size of it there, look ridiculous.
I believe I'm interviewing you all, and I'm going to look like so small, it's going to be ridiculous.
I crouched down. But so it's just, it enables me to represent the football club and be a part of things off the pitch, because it's such a big brand, such a big business model. There's so many different ventures that people can still be a part of, and it's great because I've got such an amazing affiliation with the football club and the fans and the community. So I was very honoured when they asked me to be a part of that, and a role that I'm very excited to have.
Did you see, when you were signing for this football club, did you see it being here this quickly?
In all honesty, no. My goal when I joined the football club was to get it back to League One. I came from League One and I really, really wanted to get the club back to League One. Getting it to the Championship wasn't on the agenda, but it was amazing to be a part of the club, to be able to do that. And I think that was probably my favourite season, although it didn't end how I wanted to in the last couple of months. But having such a massive involvement and still playing 30 games, it's still fabulous to be a part of. It's exceeded what I wanted to achieve. I managed to be a part to get it back to League One, but to go one better than that and to get a third promotion and create more amazing memories. And I think the way that I left the football club on my last game against Hull City. So the whole experience has been incredible. Each hitting targets and creating new targets and overachieving, and creating magical memories and writing new stories, and it was all a whirlwind. You know, I could talk about it for hours, but we don't have time.
But Ollie, you know, as Andy says, coming in as one of those earliest signings, you know, massive sort of statement signing.
Didn't even answer a question, did I? Sorry.
But did you feel that sort of pressure on your shoulders at all at that point?
I think, you know, when you come in as like a record signing and stuff, that was new to me. You know, you're normally knocking around the lower leagues on frees and stuff like that, trying to get a new club. I don't know where it's coming from. But in answer to both your questions, it was a risk. It wasn't what it was now. Yes, the owners were here, but the wheels had only just started turning, and you know, the documentary wasn't out, the brand awareness for the football club wasn't out, that the club wasn't that successful in the National League. You know, they were 8th in the National League, and I was umming and ahhing thinking, do I really want to do this? Like, if we don't get promoted, I've worked hard to get to where I've got to, is a massive risk, and everyone told me not to do it. Everyone truly and honestly told me not to do it, but I did it, went against the grain, which is unlike me. And I came here and I've got absolutely no regrets and had an unbelievable 3.5 years.
But it's not all about money, is it? There's more to that than getting out of these leagues. We've seen a lot of other teams throw money at it, all different levels, and it not work out.
Yeah.
What is it that this club has that it's worked so well?
Yeah, it's such a good question, because it does frustrate me when you hear people talk about Wrexham and affiliate with money. You know, we spoke off air, like teams like Eastleigh, and they spent a lot of money in the National League, never managed to do it, you know. And then you've got other clubs like your Salfords that spent a lot of money in League Two. And it's not a knock, it's just it shows how hard it is to still get out of these leagues. And it's all of it. It's just an unbelievable, powerful bubble where you've got an unbelievable fan base, you've got unbelievable owners, a manager who knows exactly what he's doing, and he managed to put together a group of amazing lads. And that dressing room, I've never been in such an unbelievable dressing room where there's such a togetherness. And when it wasn't going well, we didn't need to say ignore the outside noise, because there was no outside noise, you know. I think there's been a little bit of that at the start of this season with Phil Parkinson, where I think unfairly people say, oh, can you do it at this level? And again, it goes back to the model and the owners and how this club is run, that there's patience and, you know, integrity there, where they say, no, like, Phil will be able to turn this around. And in fact, turn what around? It's 5 weeks. Calm down. And look where they are now. So all those people that were slating Phil Parkinson and the club or the players and saying this is going to go wrong, look where they are now, in the playoffs and, you know, on the brink of creating history. If they don't do it, again, still, it's not going to be in a bad season if they finish in around the playoffs. The Championship's an incredibly hard league. So I think there's a lot of people on the outside that can look at this club and how it's run, and, you know, the loyalty that they show to Phil, where maybe at the start of the season they weren't getting the points, but it doesn't matter. You've got a long season and you can turn things around, and things in football change so quickly. And I think if you see what he's done this season, it's incredible. You know, he's put together a great squad, and now they're fighting to be in the playoffs. And I'm sure inside, I know what he'll be saying. He'll be saying, I don't want the playoffs, I want automatics. I know what he's like, but that's what he's like. He's driven, you know, he's ruthless, and he's fully focused on the job in hand. So I think all of it, I couldn't put my finger on one thing. It's a whole bubble, which it just works. It's just a monster. It just works.
And one of Ollie's former teammates from last season is also proving to be well up to the job this time around in the Championship. Ollie Rathbone has starred off the bench in particular this season. He starts tonight, and this week he was on pre-match press duty.
Well, Ollie, if the fourth round game is half as exciting as the third round, no one would be complaining if the results are the same.
No, it was after the last round. We had a great night here at the racecourse, and hopefully Friday night won't be any different.
Yeah, and that's the thing, playing against the Championship side, will it feel like a league encounter, or can you focus as an FA Cup side?
I think if you're playing a team in your own division, you lose that kind of cup atmosphere a little bit. But no, like I said, we'll take the same attitude we took into the Nottingham Forest game. You know, Ipswich are an outstanding team, Premier League team last year, so not too dissimilar really.
You went there, I think it was 0-0, wasn't it, at Portman Road, but keen to make amends after the Millwall defeat?
Yeah, obviously in this division the quality is so high, especially when you're playing teams in and around the playoffs, that you can play well and just kind of be on the wrong side of things that day. And I think that was the case Saturday. I think but yeah, moving forward, you just need to try and bounce back as best you can. And like I said, in this division, the quality is so high, you are going to have setbacks, you're going to lose games. But I thought the performance level was okay. I think if the small moments decided the game, and we've been pretty good at bouncing back this year, so we'll look to do that again.
The cup is very special in Wrexham. Before the last game, I believe you were showing all reels of all the previous giant killing acts. Is it the same this time?
Yeah, I know. This club's got a great history in the FA Cup, and it's famous for these fantastic moments. I think in the last round we gave the club one of them moments, one of them nights that people will talk about for a long time, and hopefully this can be the same.
In previous years, they got to the fourth round twice under Phil Parkinson. It'd be nice to go that one step further, though, wouldn't it? I mean, we've hit Championship clubs at this stage. We've gone out to them, so it'd be nice to take that next step.
Yeah, huge, and I think in the long run you just want to keep winning games. We're on a good run over the last 10, 12 games, picked up a lot of wins, which is important, and we just want to keep churning them out.
You could handle a cup run, doesn't impede on the league?
No, I think we've got such a strong squad and so much depth that it's actually welcome. I think we want as many games as possible because, after January as well, we've had a big turnover of players in the summer. So I think the best way to get to know players, especially new signings, is playing alongside them. So keep the games coming as far as we're concerned.
How special is the FA Cup for you personally, Ollie?
Yeah, I love it. Obviously, it's a huge part of the English game, and I know how special it is for this club, the history that it's got in it. So we'll just try and win the football game because winning's a habit.
And finally, for me, something special about Friday night under the floodlights here.
Yeah, ever since I've been here, it's been a fantastic place to play football, and I'm sure the atmosphere will be fantastic again.
Wrexham midfielder Ollie Rathbone even, Ollie Palmer alongside me. Ollie Rathbone on media duties ahead of tonight's match against Ipswich Town. Ollie Palmer is still with me here on Matchday Live. Ollie, just before we let you go and do your hosting in the Betty Buzz Suite tonight, just give us a bit of an insight into Ollie Rathbone. What's he like on the training ground? What's he like in the dressing room?
He's a bundle of energy. He hasn't got a bad bone in his body. A real honest guy, and someone I got a lot of time for. I didn't know him much longer than I think 18 months, 2 years, but managed to create a fantastic friendship there because of the person that he is. But it's great as well to see him doing so well at this football club this season. Back in the Championship where he came from before he joined us, and I like to try and judge players off of the importance of the goals that they scored. Not consolation goals, not scoring goals when you're already 3-4-0 up, and you bringing stuff to the table at pivotal moments, and he's doing that. He scored a couple of last minute winners, equalisers, so it's great to see him doing that. He had a tough start to the season with an injury, and it's a very competitive squad, so I'm sure he was thinking, how do I get into this? But typical Ollie Rathbone style, he's managed to work his way into the team, and he's done unbelievably well. I can't get my words out, I sound like Ollie Rathbone now. He's done unbelievably well this season.
Fantastic. Well, Ollie, thank you so much for coming to join us on Matchday Live this evening. All the very best at Shrewsbury tomorrow with your current club, Swindon. You're knocking on the door of promotion again for League Two this year, so here's hoping you can get it over the line with Ian Holloway down at the county ground.
Thank
and
you.
as ever, Ollie, great to have you back at the racecourse.
Cheers.
Ollie Palmer here at the Stoke Kairas this evening, joining us as we build up to kick off on Matchday Live, and just 2 minutes or so before we get underway with this battle with Ipswich Town. And don't forget, you can be part of the action tonight, because if you want to get your selfie either on the big screens inside the stadium or on our virtual big screen on our Matchday Live holding slate, which goes up during the periods of play, then all the details are on the screen for you now, including the QR code, and that gives you the opportunity to take your photo and tell us where you're watching from. It's also always good to see where people are joining from, so whether you take a photo or not, if you've got access to the live chat in YouTube right now, please tell us where you're joining from. It's always fun for us all to look back and see where people have connected to this broadcast, where we know for many of you it is the middle of the night or very early in the morning. So thank you for your company. Wrexham against Ipswich then this evening. Play just about to get underway with kickoff here in North Wales. Which of these two teams can force their way into the last 16 of the FA Cup this season? Wrexham chasing a place in the 5th round for the first time in 30 years. Please come and rejoin us at half-time here to see how things are going. We'll have all the analysis then, together with a special guest. Gary Bennett will be with us. We look forward to you joining us at half-time. Bye for now.
just because Matt had something to do rather than have bedweres sylw i ddynodi with an ateiapswm o 3 munud, ond Gwenegol, the fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 3 minutes and a time 3 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be in there. We'll be in there. We'll be in the warm-up.
How long left?
Half-time here at the Stoke Kairas in the FA Cup 4th round. It's Wrexham 1, Ipswich Town 0. Josh Windass, the difference between the two sides. He turned home a 34th minute Ryan Longman cross to provide the early inspiration. It took Wrexham a little while to get going in this one. Ipswich out of the blocks the quickest despite the 10 changes made by Kieran McKenna. The first 15 minutes very much saw the visitors in the ascendancy, but Wrexham started to find their flow, and when Thomason got away down the left-hand side and put a deep cross switching the play, Longman cut inside and drilled a ball with his left foot, which Windass turned home. In truth, it could have been two. A few minutes later, Ollie Rathbone creating a chance for himself brilliantly, turning on the edge of the box, firing a shot heading towards the top corner, but a magnificent save by Alex Palmer denying the in-form Wrexham number 20. But overall, Wrexham are the side in the ascendancy at the break. They've had the better of the half, and above all else, they lead by 1-0 at the interval. Andy Morell has been watching on from the co-commentary seat, and also with us tonight, a Wrexham legend who needs little introduction. Fantastic to have on Matchday Live for the very first time, Gary Bennett, 114 goals in red for the club in the early 90s. Gary, wonderful to see you. Welcome to the show. What did you make of the first half?
Well, I thought Wrexham started really, really brightly. And then they lost away a little bit. Ipswich got into the game and they were controlling the midfield, and thought it was going to be a difficult night. And then we gradually got back into the game, and then we got the goal. And I thought we've had the better of the first half, and then the keeper has pulled an absolute worldie off.
Terrific save. Yeah,
an unbelievable save that could have made it 2-0. So it's still 1-0, and it's still going to be a cagey game. I'd like us to come out on the same way we started the first half and get that second goal.
Andy, how did you see it?
Yeah, pretty much we had a real good chance in the first minute. Smith, if he just lifts the ball rather than puts it on the floor, then it's a certain goal for him inside a minute. But then, like Gary says, that Ipswich really took the game on then, and we were penning us in, and we just couldn't really get any sort of momentum. But then we grew into the game, and as we grew, we got better. We were a little bit more intensity without the ball. We were getting the ball back a little bit higher up. And then I felt that the goal has really just given us an extra boost. And Ollie Rathbone in the middle of the park has just been everywhere, covering every blade of grass. And with that opportunity, we've just talked about the great save that he made. He's actually facing the wrong way when he hits it, which makes it even better because the keeper doesn't expect it. And he just makes a couple of steps and goes up with his right hand and tips it over the bar. But we've been really good in that second part. Some of the football has been fantastic. And like Gary said, we've got to just do it again and come out and go and get that second goal.
Let's take a look at the half-time stats then from the opening 45 minutes here at the Stoke Kairas. Actually, we can't bring those to you just yet. But Andy, if we reflect on the changes Phil Parkinson has made, he only made the 5 tonight compared to Kieran McKenna's 10. How well do you think the players who've come into the side have gelled with some of the existing ones?
Well, Thomason down that left-hand side is just a bunny. Longman as well. I thought he's grown again into the game, and he's looked really against Haggart. It's been absolutely at him and hasn't given him a moment in that left-hand fullback position. He's got at him when he's had chance, and even the goal that he does when he gets the ball, he drives into the box so he can't bring him down, can't tackle him, cuts in on that left foot, but he doesn't smash it. It's very easy to just whack it and aim for that far corner, but he sort of places it with a bit of power, and it could get a deflection off a defender, it could go in off one of ours, or it flies in the bottom corner himself, puts in a great area, and Josh Windass does the rest, and I think he gets a bit of a whack from Sam Smith in the process, which makes him go off after the goal. But yeah, great goal. I think they've all done great. I think the back three have looked really solid and strong. They've been really aggressive front foot. They've gone in when the ball goes into Hurst. They're right tight to him and don't let him turn. And that's the first thing you do as a defender, get right tight. And when that building block and foundation is there, then the rest of them can go and progress from that.
We can now bring you the half-time stats from the opening 45 minutes here. Wrexham leading Ipswich Town by 1-0. Wrexham with 6 attempts to 3 in that first half, 4 of those on target, having more corners as well, so forcing the pace a bit there in a number of areas. And Gary, that reflects really the game we've seen, doesn't it? Wrexham having more of the attacking intent.
Yeah, I think Wrexham have been the best side. I don't think Ipswich have had a clear-cut chance. I can't remember our keeper making a save. So, defensively we've been really, really strong. But you've got to be careful in cup games because, Ipswich might come out with a different attitude after they've had a chat with the manager at half-time. And so we really need to come out and start the game the way we started the first half here and hopefully get that second goal, because the next goal's crucial, whether it be Ipswich or Wrexham, because it's this game's still firmly in the balance.
Andy, we'll let you head back to co-coms for the second half. We'll see Andy Morrell again at full time, but Gary Bennett, of course, featured when Wrexham last faced Ipswich Town in the FA Cup just over 30 years ago. A famous 2-1 win here at the racecourse at the time. Gary, Wrexham were a third division outfit, as is League One now. Ipswich were playing in the Premier League. You netted from the penalty spot that day. What are your memories of that occasion?
Well, it was a fantastic occasion because Ipswich were a Premier League team at the time, and we weren't doing too bad. We were in the second division at that time, but we scored goals. And no matter who we played against, we scored goals, and we scored 2 against Ipswich, and then we got Man United in the next round, and we went to Man United, and we scored 2 there as well. Forget the 5 they got.
We took the lead.
But we took the lead, and many a Wrexham fan will tell you, seeing 4,000 or 5,000 Wrexham fans behind the goal where I was stood and seeing the scoreboard saying Manchester United 0, Wrexham 1 is a memory that'll always live with me. And that's the beauty about the FA Cup. If we get the win tonight, which we're on course to do, hopefully, who's to say we don't get Liverpool away or someone big like that next time, or even Liverpool at home. I mean, the FA Cup is it's a fantastic competition, and I think it's a fans' competition. And we've got a full house here tonight at the racecourse because that's what the FA Cup does. There's a little sprinkle about the FA Cup, and hopefully we'll win tonight, and then let's see what the Hack can do tomorrow.
And of course, that match back in 1995, Gary, it was 5 minutes from time that you got the penalty. We can have a look at it on screen now, remind ourselves of how you took it. Long run up and thumped into the corner past Clive Baker. You were a decent penalty taker at that time, Gary. You hardly ever missed.
Well, I think the keeper got his hand to that one, but the importance of that penalty at the time for Wrexham was immense. I mean, we get Man United in the next round, and the club are making £250,000, £300,000. But after that, they went down the other end, Ipswich, and they were really putting us under a lot of pressure. And a certain goalkeeper, Andy Maria, pulled off one of the best saves I've ever seen. And I mean, that save, my goal...
From Ricardo Vaz, I think, from memory. Yeah, played for Ipswich that night.
But my goal, they could have said, that made the club a lot of money. But so did that save by Andy Maria. And, it was a great occasion. And hopefully we'll do it again tonight.
Looking back more widely at your Wrexham career, Gary, over 100 goals in red for you and a promotion from what was League Two, or is still League Two, up to League One. When you look back at your time at the club, what are one or two of the main memories that stand out for you beyond the cup ties that we've talked of?
I remember when I signed from Chester and I got booed for the first 7 weeks. And I thought, wow, have I made the right decision here? And the only way to win them over was by scoring goals. And then, I eventually won the fans over. And even just walking up here to do the commentary, a lot of the fans stood up and started singing my name. And so to be remembered after 30 years, I'm very proud and pleased of that. But, throughout all my football career, there was no better place than Wrexham.
Yeah, I could hear the cheers as you were walking round. George Arana went and collected you from the director's box, and I could hear the cheers moving around the stadium, and I could tell that was because you were moving amongst the crowd, Gary. So I don't think you'll ever be forgotten here. You're one of the iconic strikers, and there's very few who've scored over 100 times for the club. When you come back on nights like this, does it all come flooding back to you when you were running out wearing number 7?
Yes, of course it does. You know, I'm sat up there watching tonight's game, and I'm thinking back 30 years when we played Ipswich, and the muddy pitch and the floodlights weren't as good, and the atmosphere, you know, it all comes flooding back. Of course it does. And like the rapport I have with the Wrexham fans is unbelievable, and I'm blessed to have that. And but I had to earn that as well. So you know, but it's great coming back to the racecourse, and playing for Wrexham will be the best. They all were, and they are the best days of my life.
You arrived on a free transfer. You left for £300,000 to Tranmere Rovers. You then, of course, came back to Wrexham a little bit later in your career in '97 when we were in the FA Cup quarter-final against Chesterfield. When you look back on that particular day, Gary, which was a kind of slightly flat affair, wasn't it? It was a morning kick-off on a Sunday. We'd got to the quarter-final. We'd beaten Peterborough and Birmingham, and then two teams came up against each other at the same level, both sensing perhaps a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make it through to the semi-final, but it just wasn't our day that day.
Well, I don't know the figures, but like a lot of money was resting on that game for both clubs, and I was at Preston at the time, and then the manager said to me, 2 clubs have come in for you, and I weren't cup tied at the time, and they said Chesterfield and Wrexham.
No way, I never knew that.
Yeah, Chesterfield and Wrexham, and there was no way I was going to Chesterfield, and so I come back to Wrexham, and unfortunately I come on as a substitute, but there was a slight mix-up with Darren Brace and Andy Marriott, and we lost the game 1-0, and I remember coming on a sub, and but if we'd have got them back here at the racecourse for the replay, which was on the cards at the time, I think we'd have beat them. But that's football. That's what football does. That's the FA Cup. But it's strange that like Chesterfield come in for me as well, because they must have got wind Wrexham were in for me, and so they tried to block it. And whether they signed me and did not play me, I don't know.
We'll never know that, Gary.
We'll never know that.
You certainly made the choice coming home. Well, Gary, I can hear the players are coming out for the second half. Thank you so much for coming across to joining us on Match Day Live. It's always a pleasure to have you back in the stadium, and we hope to see you again very soon. Thank you again.
It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Former Wrexham striker Gary Psycho Bennett, 114 goals in red for him. Players are back out then for the second half. Wrexham leading Ipswich Town by 1-0 at the interval. We'll be back here, same link on YouTube, to go through all the analysis at full time and see if Wrexham can make it through to the 5th round of the FA Cup for the first time in just under 30 years. We look forward to your company in about 50 minutes time. Bye for now.
Half-time substitute for Ipswich, leaving the field number 4, Cedric Kipray. He was replaced by number 26, Dara O'Shea. substitute for Ipswich in the field, number 6, Dan Neal. He's been replaced by number 14, Jack Taylor. In the field, number 25, Elfin Baggett. He's been replaced by number 47, Jack Clark. And in the field, number 29, Chuba Akpom. Replaced by number 33, Anis Manetti. Substitution for Ipswich, leaving the field, number 20, Casey McIntyre. He's been replaced by number 31, Eva Mathen. 1,496 at Weevil Banks, 1,269 away bounds. We hope you have a safe journey home. The final score 3-4 draw, Wrexham 1, Ipswich 0. Which kicks off at 3 p.m. A safe journey home to all supporters. Please do take care when leaving the stadium, and I'll see you again on February 21st. That's right, guys.
Wrexham are into the FA Cup 5th round for the first time in 29 years. They have beaten Ipswich Town by a goal here to 0 tonight. It was a nervy racecourse for periods of the second half. Wrexham struggling to really create an opportunity to double their advantage. At times, there were some scrambles in the box which Arthur Okonkwo and the Wrexham defence had to deal with. And there were a couple of opportunities for the Tractor Boys early in the second half to equalise. Chuba Akpom denied by Okonkwo from close range, and Ethan Baggott just wide at the far post when it looked for all money like he would equalise. But Phil Parkinson made the right changes off the bench to strengthen the defensive effort, particularly in the midfield area. Kieran McKenna resorted to throwing on some of his championship regulars, but it was to no avail. Parkinson's side doing enough to get through to the last 16. They are now 2 more wins away from a potential Wembley Stadium semi-final. Andy Morell and Mia Roberts have caught their breath, having...
Well, I'm not sure about that, yeah.
Well, Mia has. Andy sort of has. Having quickly skedaddled around the stadium, he certainly coped a lot better than I would with that hefty hike. Job done, Andy. It wasn't always easy, but Phil Parkinson's side in enough control to be able to see this one out.
Yeah, I think so. It sort of mirrored the first half, really, where Ipswich came out, obviously had a bit of a talking to at half-time, were really dominant with the ball, didn't really create any real clear-cut chances, but were really good. And then we just grew again into that role, and were able to keep the ball. We got our wing-backs up the pitch then, and then we were able to create a little bit higher up and cause them a few problems. And we probably did enough in that second half just to nullify. I thought defensively the 3 at the back were really good, and Arthur behind them as well. I thought they were all really good and deserved a clean sheet.
Wrexham worth the win, Mia?
I think so. For me, they worked so hard today. I was really impressed. Obviously didn't come up to speak to you at half time, but with that last sort of 35 minutes, I thought they were exceptional. I thought Lewis O'Brien sitting in with George Dobson at times was brilliant. I thought that partnership worked really well, and Ollie Rathbone and Josh Windass at times were just controlling it. Obviously very different types of control when I say that, in terms of obviously Windass just wanting to get on that ball at all times, and Rathbone just everywhere basically.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect way to sort of describe
Man of the match,
him.
Ollie Rathbone, would you say tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant. Listen, I think there's a few you could probably put up there. I thought Ryan Longman had a really good.
He did, didn't he?
I think what was that, about 65, maybe a bit longer
just over,
minutes.
I think, yeah.
And that's not easy, to come back in from the cold almost. And I said on comms, I think he's for me, he's going to be a really important player over the next few months, and certainly in the run-in, especially when you look at obviously Kakache picking up that injury again, and you look at that sort of depth in that position in particular, and you don't want to always be reliant on someone like George Thomason to just come in and do what he did again. I thought he was very good tonight, but that's not his position. So to have someone like Longman there, who I think I'd sort of compare it earlier on in the season to someone like James McLean, who when injuries happened came in and did the job, and if that's what Longman's role is going to be, I think he's proven he can do that tonight.
Rathbone, Andy, we talked about him pre-match. He was our pre-match interviewee from his media duties this week. He's just got that busyness about him, hasn't he? When even in a game when Wrexham are struggling to get the lion's share of possession, when he's on the ball, he's finding pockets, he's creating opportunities. And although Wrexham didn't create much in the second half, anything they did create generally had him at the heart of it.
Yeah, and it's without the ball I'm more impressed with him, because of the way that he goes about, the intensity he goes with. If he's going to go and press, he does it at full 100 mile an hour, which means that the players are going to be put under pressure straight away. And he starts it off. He's the one that ignites the other people around him to, if I'm going, you're coming with me. And he goes at such pace, he causes people problems, and then he's able to nick it higher up the pitch, and then that's his joy when he's on the ball. But then in that 10 role with either side, he's able to link and turn, and the shot he had in the first half, we spoke about it at half time, where it's just brilliant. He's facing the other way, he just uses his hips to whip it into that far corner, and the keeper's made an unbelievable save to keep Ipswich in it.
Yes, if that had gone in, Andy, I think Ollie Rathbone would have a goal of the season competition just on his own, wouldn't he? The QPR one, that one, the one against Preston wasn't bad either. He's certainly racking up a few. Let's have a look at the stats from tonight's game then, shall we? Wrexham getting themselves through then to the last 16. Those ties will be played on the weekend of March the 7th, by the way, which means the away trip to Watford will be bumped. Wrexham with more attempts over the 90 minutes and with more on target. Just the one Ipswich effort on target, which just shows you again, to Mia's point, how strong the Wrexham back three were. Ipswich did force quite a few corners, including one in added time at the end, where goalkeeper Alex Palmer came forward from the back and the ball went flashing right across Arthur Okonkwo's goal, but in the end harmlessly out. Fouls pretty much even Steven, and just the one yellow card issued by referee Ben Speedy. We said pre-match, Mia, didn't we, that it's always difficult to know when you change an entire side, pretty much as Kieran McKenna did tonight, bar one centre-back, how it's going to play, because you've got players coming in trying to prove themselves, so you might think you'll get a bit more out of them, but also you've got players left on the bench who are being selected for Championship football week in, week out for a reason. How much fluency did you think Ipswich played with tonight?
I thought in both halves they started really strongly, and like Andy said, I thought the halves really mirrored sort of each other, and to me it sort of felt like Wrexham, it took them about 5-10 minutes and they'd sort of worked them out a little bit, and we're just able to nullify that. And obviously I know they've had a couple of half chances, if you like, but looking at the stats, seeing only one shot on target, that's now back to back games where Wrexham have reduced their opponents to one shot on target. I know remarkably Millwall scored 2 on Saturday with only the one shot on target.
It was an anomaly.
Absolutely, but that shows defensively we're really shutting down those big chances, and once you do that, you're always going to be in a good chance of winning games.
I think it's a conundrum for managers like Wrexham are and Ipswich in the position they are in the league. It's, what do you prioritise here? Do you prioritise getting out of the league, or do you prioritise a cup run? Do you know what I mean? Winning that game tonight is £127,000, I think, to us to be into the next round. It pays your wages, Chris, for this week.
I can dream.
And so I feel for him really, because McKenna's just gone, right, he's going to say the right things. It's going to be important that you get through the FA Cup round, but really in the back of his head is he thinking, I've got this automatic in my sights here, and Cov are really struggling at the minute. Middlesbrough are going well, but we need to distance ourselves from the pack and chase down Coventry. So is it the end of the world for Ipswich going out of the FA Cup? Not really. He'll say the right things, I'm sure, as would Phil Parkinson if we'd gone out because he'd made a few changes and stuff. It's hard to prioritise. You've got to do the right thing, but you've just got to try and win the game, I think, and that's what we've done, probably a little bit more than Ipswich have, and we've probably just sneaked it.
I think the Ipswich fans, though, now will be expecting them, to really put out performance on Saturday after what they've seen there, and I think that again puts maybe a little bit more pressure on them actually to get the 3 points when they come back to the racecourse.
I don't think they'll be disappointed to be out of it.
No, I don't think
because they've got to get out of the league. They're one of the favourites at the start of the league. That's their aim, to get out of the league. They are pushing, and they're going really well. They've got the second best defence in the league. They've got the second best highest scorers in the league. They are a good team, and I think their priority is to get back in the Premier League. Ours is a little bit different because we keep chipping away and having this momentum and ball rolling. Can we get those automatics? Probably a bit too far now, but the playoffs are certainly in our sights. But if a little cup run on the back of that as well, then that's good fun as well, isn't it?
It can be a gamble, though, because I remember probably about 2009, something like that. Aston Villa were going really well in the Premier League and were potentially challenging for the title. And Martin O'Neill played a reserve team in a UEFA Cup game, and they lost it and lost all their momentum from their Premier League challenge. So it is a gamble. It is a gamble for Kieran McKenna. But a man who's not worried about that at the moment is Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson, because he can look forward to a last 16 tie in a few weeks' time. We've got a chance to catch up with him right now.
The FA Cup, the first time for the club since 1997. What does this victory mean to you, and more importantly, what does it mean to the club?
Yeah, obviously the club, it's first of all as a group in the dressing room and the staff, making our own bit of history is important, and for the club we've got a rich heritage in the FA Cup, and it was important that we respected that tonight with the manner of the performance, and I'm absolutely delighted to get through. And we backed the Forest win up, which was a great night of cup football with a really good performance tonight, and we're so pleased.
You spoke about being pleased about the manner of the performance. What was it tonight that most pleased you?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to the lads yesterday and obviously prior in the press about when we went to Ipswich. We were excellent without the ball. We were gritty, determined, and we wanted to show that we'd evolved as a team this season with the ball, and I thought we did that really well tonight. I thought some of the football we played was very good. We got the goal. We probably had a few other moments where it could have ended up going in, and we had to defend a bit more in the second period because Ipswich are a good side. They threw some good players on the pitch, but all in all, I thought we coped with them well, and I'm very pleased with the victory.
A word on the attacking front tonight. Obviously, Josh Windass getting the goal, but was it also good to see the amount of shots that you've had in terms of efforts on goal and creating that pressure as well tonight? Yeah,
that's right. Ollie Rathbone had a great moment first half with a shot saved, and second half he's put two brilliant crosses in. The build-up play on the left was really good, and Josh getting his goal. I was so pleased with Longy as well, that how positive he was in that moment, and Josh made the run into the 6-yard box and got the vital touch. So yeah, that was very pleased. It's good for us to get a clean sheet and a win. The last few home games, we played well against Millwall, but I said to the lads, we don't want to be a team who gets pats on the back and say we played some great football today but got beat, and that comes down to both ends of the pitch, and today I thought we were good at it when it really mattered.
I know you spoke before in the press about the fact that this was a welcome distraction in a way. I mean, can you take a lot of positives out of tonight, not just from that victory, but the clean sheet and the general momentum that it gives your side heading into some really tough championship fixtures?
Yeah, exactly. The most important thing is to get a good performance and get a win. Obviously, the FA Cup means a lot to everybody, and we'll get everybody back in Sunday and get ready to go again down at Bristol. But that's what football's all about. I think there's too much talk in football. Oh, we've got another game and we're in the FA Cup. Great, that's what we're here for. That's what we're in the job for. That's what we all love, and we've got a squad to cope with that. And we've got players who will be back from injury by then. We've got a couple of players who didn't make the bench tonight, and we've got the squad to utilise in these next few weeks.
Just finally on the FA Cup, how special is it to give these fans that draw to look forward to give these fans nights like these, and ultimately to give the players nights like these as well, just finally?
Yeah, exactly that. when you go around, I bump into supporters all the time and talk about their memories of the club, and obviously we've had some brilliant recent memories, but a lot of the talk is about the Great Cup nights, and people remember that. And I said to the lads before the Forest game, we've got to create some memories ourselves this season, and we've done that with 2 terrific wins.
Thanks, Phil. Congratulations.
Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson delighted with his side's progress in the FA Cup tonight. The 1-0 victory over Ipswich Town, propelling Wrexham into the 5th round for the first time since 1997, when of course they went on to reach the quarter-finals, the 3rd time in the club's history that had been achieved, and now that prospect is just one further win away in the last 16. This weekend, of course, is the last 32 of the competition. We'll get up to speed shortly with all the other fixtures taking place this weekend. There was one other match tonight, Chelsea going up to Hull City and thumping Hull by 4-0. So Chelsea and Wrexham, the first 2 names to go into the draw for the last 16. Wouldn't that be an enticing tie? Joey Jones's former side, Chelsea, Eddie Nejvicki as well. Plenty of history between those 2 clubs. That would be one heck of a draw if that comes up on Monday night, when the last match of the weekend will be played. Giant Killers Macclesfield from National League North up against league opposition once more as they square up to Brentford. Phil Parkinson, clearly Mia pleased with the win, but making a vehement point there that you've got a big squad. We love playing matches. There's no issue with playing more games. Refreshing.
It is refreshing. I think that should be the mentality, especially after you win. It certainly helps, doesn't it? But no, I think he'll be looking at it now with a really positive outlook, and delighted for him, like he says, to make history, and that's something that I'm sure he said to the players, but he'll be thinking himself as well from a personal point of view. He wants to be sort of written in those books as the man who's sort of done that, and he's done that again tonight. I think interesting as well. He points out that reverse fixture in the league up at Ipswich, and that's 2 games now against a really strong side. We've praised this Ipswich team a lot tonight, and rightly so, because they're a top team. But that's 2 games now where they haven't scored against this Wrexham side. I know tonight, obviously 10 changes, but they haven't caused us too many problems, and that's going to give this team a lot of belief and momentum now going into that league game back here on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's been a pretty perfect night for him, really. The main thing is none of the lads have got injured.
Yes.
So he's probably saying off the back of that we're still fully fit now. We've not lost anybody else to an injury, which is great. We've kept a clean sheet against a really good team. Great. We've ironed out maybe our home form because we haven't won in 3, lost 2 and drawn 1 in the last 3. So maybe at home we've got a nice little win under our belt. So everything's just been really positive tonight, and he's got minutes in a few of the lads that needed them, and so it's been a great evening.
I think as well, you touch on that response, and we speak about that a lot, when Wrexham dropped points, and I was trying to have a little look before at the last time Wrexham actually went back-to-back defeats, and I had to scroll quite a lot.
Back,
I think it was League 2, early on in that season.
It's incredible. You think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite the stat. I mean, it just shows, when we talk about this sort of mental resilience, it's not just a toss-away sort of reference or phrase or whatever. It exists within this football club, and it's such a strength, such a strong characteristic to have, because the last thing you want is to go on a bad run, and this team, they don't allow that to happen.
Well, just not getting too low. When you have a bad setback, don't get too low, because you can then evolve into the next one. No, put it away, reflect on it, and go again, and just put it behind you. And that's what this group does, and it comes from the very top, and it goes through the management and staff, and they've got it bang on that it doesn't really matter. If you do have a bad performance, we're going to move on, we go on again, and it's a great idea, because even the past teams, Liverpool in the 80s and stuff, they got hammered at times, but they were able to just go very quickly, bang, onto the next one and win titles.
And the point you make, Mia, which Phil called out in his interview about the evolution of the side, I think that matters a lot to him, doesn't it? To actually say, let's look at markers early in the season when we were trying to find our feet and find the formula that's going to work at championship level. And I think the more evidence he sees of saying, well, that was a team that we went away from, dug in deep and got a 0-0 against. Now we've actually shown them a few months later that we can play, and it's a very different result and a very different feel of a match, admittedly against an Ipswich side that was much changed from their championship 11.
Yeah, and of course you need that sort of context, but at the same time, Wrexham deserve a lot of credit, because like you say, it's almost a different sort of Wrexham side, even though there's a lot of the same personnel in that squad. And I think Phil Parkinson deserves a lot of praise for that as well, because at times this season or previously in his career, he's been labelled as something, and he's certainly breaking down those sort of stereotypes, and I think he's been brilliant at that this season. And it comes back to that thing of not going on that bad run, not getting stuck in a sort of rut, and actually not letting it affect you too much, and actually going, no, we're going to do it this way, and this is going to work, and having that belief. And he has that in abundance.
No shots away from home, was it? 16 tonight. That shows a little bit of a different type of football that you're playing, isn't it?
That's a gentle evolution. Let's have a look at the fixtures then in the FA Cup round 4 taking place across this weekend, because many of the fixtures, of course, are tomorrow, but there's a handful on Sunday and one more on Monday night. There are the scores on screen. As you can see from this evening, as we mentioned, Chelsea going up to Hull, what might have been a tricky trip on a Friday night, up to East Yorkshire, a thumping victory there for Chelsea, 4-0, and they head into the last 16 in ominous form. The cup will kick back in at lunchtime tomorrow. Burton Albion home to a couple of ex-Wrexham players. Andy Cannon there now, of course. George Evans still a stalwart in midfield. They've got a great draw against West Ham United, struggling at the wrong end of the Premier League table. How much will they focus on a trip to the Pirelli Stadium tomorrow? That might be rich pickings, perhaps, for the upset. Hence the TV selection of 12:15. I'm sure the producers are hoping that Burton can come out on top. Burnley against Mansfield, Premier League. Burnley, who are also fighting against the drop against Mansfield. Well, maybe Nigel Clough's side might fancy they can go and get something there at Turf Moor. Manchester City against Salford City with our old friend from Matchday Live, Mark Howard, in the Salford City squad. We wish Chomp all the very best for that trip to the Etihad, because that is a heck of a task for Carl Robinson Salford City. They drew the same opposition last year and got beaten 8-0. I'm sure it won't be as hefty a thumping as that in this particular edition, but Exeter City certainly felt the full wrath of a Pep Guardiola side in form in the previous round. So let us see. Norwich City, reviving under Philippe Clement in the Championship, face up to struggling West Bromwich Albion. They'll start that all-Championship match as favourites in Norfolk. Port Vale, punching above their weight, have got an opportunity against Championship side Bristol City at Vale Park, not far from here, down in Burslem, so that's a potential upset there. And Southampton facing beleaguered Leicester City, 6 points deducted for Leicester City this season, and they are struggling at the moment. Southampton will fancy their chances. Another all-Championship tie. Villa against Newcastle is an all-Premier League tie. Eddie Howe's Newcastle struggling at the moment for form. Unai Emery's Aston Villa will probably start as favourites in that one. And then the Saturday night fixture sees Liverpool face Brighton and Hove Albion. That would be a great draw for Wrexham, wouldn't it? That particular tie, whichever way that came out, Liverpool-Wrexham would be an epic. Lots of fans of both clubs. And, of course, the Joey Jones connection again, whereas Brighton, a club in the past who Wrexham have collaborated with, both of them having had their financial challenges on an uber scale. And Brighton and Wrexham have had some great old cup tussles in the past. At Andy Morrell to my left, featured in epic night that almost was. Wouldn't that be a great tie? So I think either of those two would be a great draw. On Sunday, Birmingham against Leeds United, Championship against Premier League there. Grimsby Town, good luck to them, against Wolverhampton Wanderers, all but relegated in the Premier League. So a chance there for the Mariners up on Cleethorpes to see if they can knock out Wolves. They've had some good moments in cups in recent times. So good luck to Grimsby there. Oxford struggling in the Championship at the moment, square up to Premier League. Sunderland, Stoke face Fulham. Arsenal up against Wigan Athletic. And then on Monday night, Macclesfield from the National League North. A terrific effort to get all the way through to round 4 when you're playing in the 6th division of the English game. Well, they have got Keith Andrews' Brentford to come and visit the Moss Rose. So good luck to Macclesfield. John Rooney, brother of Wayne, in charge there. Robbie Savage, formerly of these parts, of course, one of their shareholders. And Macclesfield already having knocked out the reigning cup holders, Crystal Palace, in the previous round. They'll fancy their chances of doing it again. Which of those cup ties are you going to be following this weekend, Mia? Or more than one, I should think.
Yeah, I think I am going to Anfield actually tomorrow night.
Oh, nice.
With my mother for Valentine's.
Oh,
so,
very nice. What a perfect treat.
I know.
Bit of scouting, depending on how the draw goes for Wrexham.
You never know, dear. You never know. So, hopefully that's a good game. But there's a real good few fixtures in there. I'm looking forward to Birmingham Leeds as well. I think that could be a little bit tasty. So that could be one to watch. Then obviously Macclesfield again on the Monday night should be a good one to get the eyes on. I think they were obviously so impressive. They were the story of the round last time out, weren't they? Sadly, sort of taking a bit of the limelight off Wrexham's win, really, but we'll let them have it. I think fair enough.
It was some achievement, wasn't it? That's the statistically at least the biggest FA Cup shop in history, although I'm sure many people would still say Wrexham 92nd the previous year, beating Arsenal, the current champions, back in that famous day in 92, was still usurping it. But Andy, it must be difficult, I suppose, to some extent for John Rooney and Macclesfield. They've got nothing to lose. It's a bit of a free hit. But if you've gone and knocked out a Premier League side and the reigning cup holders, and you get another Premier League team at home, kind of difficult psychologically, isn't it? Because you've had your moment, but then you think, well, we've done it once, we could possibly do it again.
Yeah, and the expectation then is like, oh, well, why not? And really, they had no chance of the Palace one, and they've just been absolutely magnificent man for man against them and come out on top of one game. And to having it for the opportunity to do it again is ridiculous, but to go and do it and maybe beat them as well, that is a huge ask, I think, for them. But they will just approach it exactly like they have done, I'm sure, the first game and just give it a go, and they'll have a brilliant day. They'll make a lot of money out of it, and they'll put that towards the budget, and it'll probably keep the club going for another 3 or 4 years after.
We were chatting with Gary at half-time, Andy, about some of his cup days of the past, and Phil made the reference in his interview with Will Pritchard a couple of minutes ago about how much cup football historically lingers in the mind of fans in terms of favourite moments. I thought it was nice seeing some of the Macclesfield players going back to work the day after they had beaten Crystal Palace, beaten a team of millionaire Premier League footballers, and there was a lad who was a primary school teacher going back to school and getting cheered into the school hall. And you're thinking, that's what the FA Cup's all about, right? The history of the competition. It's those moments for semi-professional players who hold down a full-time job, as you did at the start of your career, and still try and play and cope with elite players on a Saturday afternoon when really they should have no chance of being able to do so.
Yeah, just creating memories for life, and I bet there was a few sore heads going into work the next day. Let's say about that. Or very little sleep. Should we say that?
Amir, as we look ahead now, the one, I guess, aspect that you always have to balance against a cup run is that potentially you get a bit behind in the league season, because the championship sides who were knocked out in the third round clearly are playing this weekend. Wrexham having now progressed to the fifth round, it could well be that there are other sides around them, and we know how tight it is around the playoff places, who are going to go above Wrexham. Wrexham, of course, will have those games in hand, but it's another aspect to consider, isn't it? There is that little bit of almost table pressure that when teams are going and potentially winning those matches when you're on cup duty, you've now then got to recover that when your midweek rearranged game finally comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously part of that is actually how do the teams around you actually do when they play their sort of games in hand, because, from one point of view, Millwall could win this weekend, which I'm sure the bookies are saying they will because they've got Sheffield Wednesday, and I think that would take them, is it 9 points maybe?
Yeah.
Is that right? Ahead of Wrexham, which at this stage is quite the gap. But in the Championship, is it? So it's one of them. But equally, if they don't pick up those points in those games in hand, then does that actually give Wrexham, when they're chasing with those games to play still, a little bit of belief that we just need to go out and win, and they've already missed their opportunity, sort of thing. So I think it can go one of two ways. But obviously now the Watford game is going to be pushed back, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
A long midweek schlep down to Hertfordshire, but all in the case of cup progress, Andy, and we've said, and Phil clearly is of this view, that if you can keep building momentum and get into that winning habit, you're just further developing the belief in the side, aren't you? And you're offering too the opportunity for players that perhaps are frustrated on the training ground that they're getting 5 minutes or no minutes in a championship game, that they can get an hour, maybe longer, in a cup run that continues.
Yeah, and I think him saying about having, it's just love having games and we've got a squad to deal with it, I think that's a message to his players to say, come on, because you can get in the psyche like, oh, we've got another game, it's one of those body language. No, he's saying, come on, we love having games, and that'll send the message to the players like, yep, we're with you right here, and we're ready if you need us, sort of thing, and the whole squad will just move forward with a real positive attitude towards the games, I'm sure.
We'll be catching up very shortly with Ryan Longman, Wrexham wing-back, back in the side tonight to put in a shift for almost 70 minutes. The creator of Josh Windas's winner for Wrexham. So stay with us. He'll be coming up shortly on Matchday Live. And don't forget, the Wrexham women's team are in action again this weekend. On Sunday, they're heading down to face Swansea City in South Wales. So check out the coverage as ever through the club website via the iFollow links there. Free coverage, of course, of the Wrexham women's matches provided through the club website. Mia, you had the chance to catch up with Jenny Sugarman pre-match today. We saw your interview. She's going to get pretty used to facing Cardiff City in the next few weeks. Talk about repetition. I mean, Wrexham men have got Ipswich twice, but 3 matches back-to-back against Cardiff and a 4th not too far away.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it, really? But, you know, those are the games that everyone wants to watch at the moment because it's them two really just leading the way, and it's so tight. I think there's 1 point in it at the moment in the league, and then obviously, I mean, I'm personally pleased they've actually got Cardiff in the semi-final because it seemed like, you know, in all previous years in those cup competitions, they were only meeting Cardiff actually in the final, so it could actually, you know, be seen as quite a good thing that, you know, you get a win there and, you know, you're probably then heavily favourites if you can get to that final itself. But yeah, it's a really now intense few weeks for those girls, and you know, looking at that final on their 22nd of February in Bangor, so it's going to be in North Wales. That's a massive sort of coy if you want for our local fans, you know, to try and get down to that. You know, it's a bit easier than the typical Dragon Park that sure. I've certainly made the schlep down to for the last few years, and you know, it's not been necessarily easy, but no, I think they've got to relish it. And you know, Jenny was saying earlier about how, you know, they're going to be different types of games, you know, those cup ones to the league ones, but you know, they're the ones you want to be in. They're going to be the highest intensity, they're going to be the probably highest quality, so you know, I'm sure they'll just go and enjoy it and hopefully win them.
And just help us understand, Mia, from a player's perspective, if you were in the Wrexham dressing room and you look now and you think second phase of the league, Adran Trophy final, Bute Energy Welsh Cup semi-final, where would you sort of be ranking those 3 in terms of priorities?
I think league's got to be number 1, but at the same time, you know, this club hasn't won, you know, silverware in the women's department, you know, since we got promoted out of the Adran North. So that's something they'll want to drastically change, and they've got a really good opportunity to do that within those 2 cup competitions. And you know, I think Jenny will sort of, you know, I think honestly she'll say the league comes first and foremost, but those cup competitions aren't far behind, because that's what Cardiff have done over the last few years. They've just dominated all competitions. I know TNS won it last year, but they'll be desperate to just get their hands on some silverware this year. And you know, I think 3 additions over the last few weeks has certainly bolstered their squad, and yeah, they're certainly on the Bluebirds' toes, if you like, or heels. And yeah, hopefully they can you know, get that step over the line.
We will follow it with interest in the weeks ahead. Wrexham and Cardiff going head to head in the women's game in the weeks that lie in front of us. Plenty of silverware to be fought for, but for the Wrexham men, they've got the opportunity to be a step closer to Wembley Stadium potentially today, because they're into the last 16 of the FA Cup, and wing-back Ryan Longman is now speaking to Will Pritchard.
3, 2, 1.
Ryan, into the 5th round of the FA Cup, how does that one sound?
Yeah, great result, and I think for us and the fans, yeah, obviously it's a really good achievement.
I think we all saw how special that Nottingham Forest game was, but I mean, to build on that and ultimately get into the 5th round of the competition, that must mean a lot to you as players as well, in terms of your competitive side and wanting to continue progression in this tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's obviously been a while since we've been in the 5th round, and as players, obviously coming off a loss, we wanted to get that winning buzz around in the change room again, and yeah, I think we've done that tonight.
And in terms of that performance, 1-0 clean sheet against a fellow Championship side, is that the sort of performance that just gives you a lot of confidence moving forwards?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, we've got a busy schedule coming up again, and I think, yeah, obviously coming off the back of a loss, we needed to pick up the energy in the change room again, and we come out tonight and yeah, we performed really well and got a good 1-0 win.
And in terms of that performance, I think we saw in the first half, in terms of going forwards, trying to create that pressure, trying to put them on that back foot, and then that different side to the game in the second half. I mean, just how comfortable are you as a side now, given the experience that you've had to play in both of those boxes?
Yeah, exactly. I think we've gelled really well as a team now, and I feel like we got a real good understanding of everyone now. And yeah, we just got to keep building and take this into Tuesday.
For you as a player, I mean, you first arrived a little over a year ago when you signed for Wrexham. I mean, how do you reflect back on that journey to this point?
I always say it's a special place, and yeah, sometimes you've got to sort of step outside of it to realise like what you're actually in and sort of take it in. And yeah, it's been a special year, and hopefully, yeah, may it continue.
I think the manager touched on the fact that the FA Cup wasn't a distraction, it was actually a welcome distraction in some senses. I mean, from what you've seen in these two matches, is it that sort of element where it does boost that morale and it does boost that confidence within the camp?
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, like I said before, going off a loss, you need that win, you need that energy in the changing room, and I feel we've got that tonight. And now we've got real confidence going into Tuesday and playing against Ipswich, obviously, again on Friday.
Speaking about those two games, you know, that sort of fixture in the Championship is always going to be a tough one, but how much do you relish the opportunity now as players to go through what is going to be a hectic schedule on the whole?
Yes, football, isn't it? This is part of it, and yeah, we just got to obviously, like tonight, grind out performance and keep getting 3 points.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Congratulations.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Wrexham wing-back Ryan Longman giving his reflections to Will Pritchard after tonight's 1-0 victory for Wrexham against Ipswich Town. It was Longman's driven left-foot cross turned home by Josh Windass in the 34th minute that provided the difference between these two sides and propelled Wrexham into the last 16 of the FA Cup for the first time in 29 years. Mia, you made the point about Ryan Longman. It's not easy, is it, when you've been peripheral to the team in the last few games to come back in and be able to turn it on straight from the start. But he showed with the goal in particular tonight and his general play in the performance that he's still got plenty to offer this side. And also on his left foot, that driven cross, it shows the power that he's got in his wrong foot to be able to put a ball in as dangerous to that, which, as Andy and I were chatting as we watched the last minute or so of the first half, was saying to any striker, just get something on this and it will go in.
Yeah, no, I thought he was brilliant tonight, and I think he has already made a big impact. So, you know, this season, I think he's played a really big role in this team, and obviously when we've talked about injuries and stuff, and you know, I think sometimes we do him a little bit of a disservice in terms of him being able to step up, and you know, we talk about the likes of Sam Smith, you know, coming in last season and doing a really good job. Well, you know, I think you could argue Ryan Longman did a pretty similar thing, and maybe because of the role he plays in terms of that wing back role, he gets maybe less appreciation for that. I'm not too sure, but no, I think again tonight, you know, he's shown that he can do it at this level, and that's what you need from him. And I think Phil Parkinson will be delighted. He obviously picked him out in his interview, didn't he? And you know, that shows that he's noticed, and you know, he says that, so Ryan Longman will probably hear it. You know, it's not, you know, misintentional. So. Yeah, I'm really delighted with him and for him as well, because, you know, I think it's probably has been maybe a difficult last couple of weeks, obviously with Kakachi and Kabore just coming straight back in, and for him to have that opportunity again and to also take it's brilliant.
I think he gives everything. Every time he's been on the pitch for Wrexham, he just leaves everything out there, which is exactly what Phil Parkinson wants for all of his players, is just to give me everything you've got, and if it's not quite good enough, I'll hold my hands up and go fair play. He just gives you everything. I've been really impressed with him defensively more than his attacking play this year. I think he's just knuckled down with that a little bit. He gets a load tighter. He's really low down. He's aggressive in it, and his intensity is, I think, personally better in his 1v1 duels. And so he's coming out on top a lot more with that. His forward play, he just gives you, you know, keeps going and going and going, and his delivery is as good as anybody in the team.
Libby Kakachi, Andy, we wait to hear how long he might be out. It didn't sound too bad from what Phil was saying in the press this week. It was a low-grade hamstring tear. But obviously with James McLean now having departed back to Derry, if Kakachi is out for a few weeks, then Longman's versatility will be very important again, won't it? Because he's going to be the key backup to George Thomason, who himself is relatively new to that position.
Yeah, and I echo what Mia says. I think he's been great already, because when Kabore went off to the African Nations, he was in the team and he was playing, and that was when we had our good spell as well. And so he's played both sides as well. He's had to do that job for us, and I think Ipswich away was maybe one of them that he's played a little bit out on that side. But he adds to us when he comes on. He'll give you a little boost with his energy and his enthusiasm, and he has quality in there like we've seen today on both feet. And so he's been a great addition for us. He got us over the line last year when he came in with a similar time to Smith and Rodriguez. And he will continue to push Kabore all the way and make sure if he's not playing at 100%, then I'm in the team.
Mia, Bristol City on Tuesday night, all set for Ashton Gate?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
yeah, a bit of a trek again, isn't it? But we'll manage it, I'm sure. But yeah, another interesting side. Obviously, Mehmeti, someone who's left them. Zach Viner obviously coming to us, so they've lost a couple of important players, but still got a very strong squad and in a decent position themselves.
Bit inconsistent, Andy, aren't they? They're able to beat some of the big sides and then get thumped.
Yeah, got thumped one weekend, then go and nick a win the other. That's the Championship. We've said it all season, haven't we? I'm fed up of saying it. And so, yeah. You've just got to go there, do the job that we will do, be professionally as ever, go and do it properly and really take the game to them. I think we've got that in our locker. Whatever team he picks, I'm sure will be the right one, and hopefully we'll go and get some 3 points and put more points on the board.
Safe travels to you both down to the southwest. Enjoy Ashton Gate, another great stadium to visit, and we'll be back here for Ipswich Town again, just for a change. Next Saturday, back in the Sky Bet Championship, so we look forward to your company then. FA Cup fever, Friday night lights, one of those special Wrexham evenings it certainly seemed as the players ran out at 7:45. Ipswich Town making the long journey across from Suffolk, a dangerous opposition, a team who've lifted the trophy. The Tractor Boys arrived in town with hope of derailing Wrexham, but in the end they were mown down by a combination of Longman and Windus as Wrexham forced their way into the last 16 for the first time in 29 years. We await the draw with excitement and interest, but for now there's the chance just to celebrate and enjoy another great Wrexham night in pursuit of that famous old silverware. Maybe, just maybe, perhaps. Good night.